Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the regularly scheduled meeting of the Council of the Municipality of Thames Centre. Today is Monday, June 24th, 2024. We are located in the Municipal Office Council Chambers at 4305 Hamilton Road in Dorchester. The time is 5 p.m. and I would like to call this meeting to order. Before we do this, before we head into the regularly scheduled portion of the meeting, some of you may know that sadly, we lost one of our employees last weekend. And I'd like to ask for a moment of silence. So the gentleman's name is Steve Presswood. And Steve was a dedicated member of the Thames Centre Roads Department as a road equipment officer. It's with profound sadness that I share that he passed away unexpectedly last weekend. Steve was not only a dedicated and skilled professional who made significant contributions to our municipality over the past 20 years, but he was also a kind, entertaining, and incredibly caring individual who touched the lives of everyone he worked with. He will be deeply missed, and his contributions to our community will not be forgotten. During this time, our thoughts are with Steve's family, friends, and loved ones. May the cherished memories of Steve bring comfort and peace to all who knew him. And I'll ask the clerk to record one moment of silence. Thank you. Under item number 3 on your additions to the agenda, we have no additions, but unfortunately, we've had to strike item number 7 from this evening's agenda due to unforeseen circumstances. So with that being said, I wonder if I could have a mover and a seconder for the agenda. Deputy Mayor Smybert and seconded by Councillor Crockett. All in favor? Thank you. At this time, are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest from the members of council? Seeing none, we'll move on to some announcements, and I do have a couple. Not necessarily first and foremost, but I'd like to inform everyone of an upcoming service disruption at our municipal office starting at 7 a.m. on Tuesday, the 2nd of July. Due to essential site work, access to the office will be restricted until approximately Monday, September the 2nd. Further details will be shared soon, but please be aware of this upcoming change for the future. Thank you. The second is also another reminder, traffic related, that I'm sure most of you know, because of the bridge work that's being done along the 401 at the Dorchester Road, that highway will be closed during the night, 9 p.m. to 5 p.m. on all, a.m. Let's not go there. 9 p.m. to 5 a.m. on June 24th, which is today, the 5th, 26th, and 27th inclusive. Thirdly, but no less important, I'd like to congratulate Scott Taylor of the Signpost in his new position and to thank him for his years of service of reporting on behalf of council to the public. And the municipality would like to wish you all the best going forward, Scott. So thank you very much. Good luck. All right, now going through the agenda, then we will begin with item number 8 on the public meeting, planning. So at this time, mover and a seconder for council to adjourn its regular meeting at 5:06 p.m. and move into public meetings pursuant to the Planning Act to consider applications listed on the June 24th, 2024 agenda. So, Ms. Cortez, whenever you're ready. Oh, a mover and a seconder, that would be good. Councillor Heeman and Deputy Mayor Smyberg, all in favor? Thank you. That motion carries. Okay, whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Your Worship, through you. So the purpose and effect of the subject application is to sever a parcel of land having a frontage of approximately 74 meters and an area of approximately 1.2 acres from an existing agricultural parcel. The subject property is a 185-acre farm situated on the west side of Missouri Road, south of Plover Mills Road, and backing onto the Thames River. The applicants are requesting to sever a parcel of land known municipally as 22649 Missouri Road and have indicated that the lands were previously a separate lot. However, they have merged with the farm known municipally as 22697 Missouri Road in 2012 due to common ownership. So as mentioned, the lands to be severed would have an area of approximately 1.2 acres. I would like to note that the air photo for the location map does show a dwelling. However, the dwelling has been removed. The lands to be retained would have an area of approximately 184 acres and would contain the single detached dwelling, horse stable, and office. The horse stable is located approximately 105 meters from the proposed severed lot. So section 2.3.4.3 of the provincial policy statement states that the creation of new residential lots in prime agricultural areas shall not be permitted except in accordance with surplus farm dwelling severance policies. This application does not propose a surplus farm dwelling severance, and the Planning Act does provide a special provision to address the merger of lands as a result of the death of a joint tenant, which is not the case in this situation. So the county's official plan states all lands within the county except lands identified as settlement areas is considered prime agricultural land. The provincial policy statement, the County of Middlesex, and municipal official plans provide policy direction to allow the creation of farm parcels provided the lots are of a size appropriate for the type of agriculture common in the area and sufficiently large to maintain flexibility for future changes in the type or size of agriculture and also to avoid unwarranted fragmentation of farmland. As noted in the County and Thames Center official plans, new farm parcels shall generally be 40 hectares or 99 acres in size. And given the new parcel proposes an area of 1.2 acres, being significantly less than the 99 acres, the subject application would not be consistent with the provincial policy statement and would not be in conformity with both official plans. As noted, the horse stable is located approximately 105 meters from the proposed severed lot. The provincial policy statement, the County of Middlesex official plan, and the Thames Center official plan, as well as the zoning bylaw, require compliance with minimum distance separation when considering the division of land. So according to the zoning bylaw, no residential use located on a separate lot shall be established and no building or structure shall be erected or altered unless it complies with minimum distance separation MDS 1 setbacks. Subsequent to staff writing this report, staff received information this afternoon noting that an MDS setback requirement of 163 meters would be required from the existing livestock barn to a new dwelling. Additionally, if a new dwelling was to be constructed on a new lot, the applicant would be required to meet a minimum MDS 2 setback of 177 meters. Based on the information provided by the applicant's consultant, a new dwelling on a severed lot would not be able to meet this requirement. Based on the foregoing, the subject application is not consistent with the provincial policy statement, does not conform with the Middlesex County or Thames Center official plans, and furthermore, does not comply with the Thames Center zoning bylaw. In regards to agency comments, comments were received from the county engineer, the drainage superintendent, the chief building official, and the Upper Thames River Conservation Authority, and these comments are included in the report. No public comments have been received to date. Staff recommend that application B7-24 be denied for the reasons outlined in the report. Thank you.
Thank you, Alana. Is there any additional information from either the applicant or the agent? No? Yes. Would you like to come forward? Yeah.
Well, good evening, Your Worship, and good evening to the rest of the councillors. My name is Stephen Fernandez, and I act on behalf of the applicant, Kilburn Estates Limited. The subject land, as the planner described, is comprised of two parcels of land that have merged, a larger parcel to be retained and a smaller parcel to be severed. The applicant requests that the land is restored to its historical nature as separate parcels. The applicant bought the parcels in 2022 and is using the larger parcel for horse farming and cash cropping. At the time of purchase, the smaller parcel contained a 1970s surplus dwelling that was unoccupied and in a poor state of repair. The applicant proceeded to demolish the surplus dwelling in 2023 as the costs of repair were prohibitively expensive. The small parcel is presently vacant and unutilized. The applicant wishes to construct a viable residential dwelling on the small parcel for the purposes of sale, which is consistent with its historical use. The applicant submits that the severance is consistent with the current land use planning framework, namely the provincial policy statement and Middlesex and Thames Center official plans. Here are three brief submissions. First, the provincial policy statement and Middlesex official plan state that viable rural areas should be supported by the redevelopment of existing housing stock, which is what this application is seeking to do. Kilburn is not seeking to create a novel residential parcel, but to simply maintain the small parcel's historical use and to construct a viable and habitable dwelling. All three plans are concerned with preserving lands being used for agriculture and avoiding disruption of agricultural uses. The small parcel has not been used for agricultural purposes, was historically used for residential purposes, supported by the existence of two pins, and its continued residential use will not interfere with farming operations on the larger parcel or on surrounding areas. Lastly, the provincial policy statement provides that lot adjustments will be permitted for legal or technical reasons. Case law emanating from the Ontario Land Tribunal, including the recent decision in 2023, Prosecco and Prescott in Russell County, refers to merger as a technical or inadvertent issue that may require correction. The applicant submits that the merger in the present circumstances requires correction. The lands as they are not being productively used. The relevant policies and law Kilburn submits authorize the granting of the severance. I thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Fernandez. At this time, are there any questions from the,
There's no one online, Your Worship.
no one online? Anyone in the council chambers who wishes to talk to this? No, no one? All right, then in that case, I'll turn this over to council for any questions or comments that they might have. Councillor Heeman.
Through your worship, am I correct in assuming that if they did wish to construct in future that they would have to get a minor variance exemption?
That is through your worship to Councillor Heeman. That is correct. A minor variance would be required for MDS setbacks as well as lot frontage and lot area. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from council? Councillor Lockie, go ahead.
Through your worship, do we know if the farmland is like good usable farmland? Like, could it be used to be cultivated?
Who would like to answer this?
I guess,
question?
yeah, I don't really know if anybody there would know. I don't really know who I'm addressing it to.
Okay.
I would certainly be willing to, sorry. My understanding is that the small parcel of land is not required for the operations on the larger parcel. As far as the viability of the land, I would have to follow back with my client and report back.
Alana?
Through your worship, in general, this land is considered prime agricultural land. And although this owner may not see, perhaps may not see that it could be used for agricultural purposes, ownerships does change. And again, it's considered prime agricultural land, so that's not to say it couldn't be used as pasture land or something like that along those lines. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Counselor Heeman?
But am I correct in assuming that there is a demolished foundation on this proposed parcel? And when you dig a foundation, you significantly disturb the soil to the point where it's not suitable for cultivation. Like you can still see where people have, you can try and you can raise crops, but it's not the same.
Oh, and did you have another comment there?
Yes, it is likely that the lands would be disturbed by the previous residents. I mean, further investigation would be required to confirm, but in the present, this land is underutilized, it's vacant, and it doesn't represent efficient use of the rural lands. The redevelopment and the continued use of the residential use of that land is strongly desired.
Thank you. Counselor Heeman again?
Just a comment, I think it's a crummy situation that there was consolidation due to a technicality. I think that that's what instigated this proposal. And I think that, that's an unfortunate error. And I think if we can assist in correcting that error, that would be a service to the community and to the owners.
Thank you, Counselor Heeman. Anyone else before we move on? No? Well, before us right now, is recommendation to deny the application. What is council's pleasure on that one? Counselor Heeman?
I would like to move that the application be approved, given the 7 conditions outlined in the report.
So on our, excuse me, on our copies of the agenda are a draft motion concerning the issue if the council chooses to deny, not to deny this, but actually approve it. So we have a motion from Councillor Heeman. Is there someone who would second that? Councillor Crockett? Okay, all in favor? Any opposed? All right, that motion carries to approve. Thank you. Then item number 8.2, application for temporary use zoning bylaw amendment Z7-24, Millennium Farms, Inc. Applicant, Kevin Miller as the agent. Property is at 4607 Lewis Road. And the overview of the application by Ms. Cortez, please.
Thank you, Your Worship, through you. So the purpose and effect of this application is to rezone the subject lands for a temporary period not to exceed 3 years to permit 2 single detached dwellings on the subject lands to allow a new dwelling to be constructed on the subject property. So the property is situated at the southwest corner of Lewis Road and Crampton Drive. The lands contain a single detached dwelling with a floor area of approximately 800 square feet and are serviced by private well and septic system. And the property also contains a barn and a silo. The lands are primarily used for agricultural purposes in the form of field crop cultivation. The applicant is proposing to construct a new single detached dwelling while retaining the existing dwelling for a temporary basis. And the applicant intends to remove the existing single detached dwelling from the property after that 3 years. So the Thames Center official plan allows temporary uses for up to 3 years, including the construction of a second dwelling while retaining the existing dwelling under certain circumstances and subject to criteria. Staff are satisfied that the criteria have been met or are capable of being met by having the owners enter into an agreement with the municipality, which requires the removal of the existing dwelling no later than 6 months after final completion and occupancy of the new dwelling or expiry of the temporary use bylaw, whichever comes first. So at that time, the dwelling would have to be removed from the lands. A draft agreement has been included for council's consideration, and staff would like to note that the applicants have signed the temporary use agreement. The subject proposal would ensure consistency with the provincial policy statement and would be in conformity with the Middlesex County and Thames Center official plans. The new dwelling is capable of meeting the setback requirements of the agricultural A zone. In regards to comments received, comments were received from the county engineer, the director of public works, the drainage superintendent, the Upper Thames River Conservation Authority, and the chief building official, and these comments are included in the report. In regards to public comments, none have been received to date. Staff recommend the Thames Center zoning bylaw be amended to permit 2 single-unit dwellings for a temporary period not to exceed 3 years, and that the mayor and clerk be authorized to execute the temporary use agreement. Thank you.
Thank you, Elena. Is there anyone in the audience, the applicant or the agent, who wishes to offer more information? No one? Anyone online?
There's
Sarah?
no one online, you're
Oh,
right.
okay. Anyone in the council chambers who has questions? No one? All right. Any members of council then who have questions or comments regarding this application? All right. Well, if there is no further discussion, the public meeting on this portion is now closed. And we'll move to the decision. Do I have a mover on the recommended motion as appended to the agenda for zoning bylaw amendment to permit 2 single-unit dwellings on 4607 Lewis Road for a temporary period not to exceed 3 years, and that the mayor and the clerk be authorized to execute a temporary use agreement? A mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Deputy Mayor Smybert and seconded by Councillor Lockie. All in favor? All right, that motion carries. Thank you. We'll have a motion now that the planning portion of the meeting be adjourned at 5:22 p.m. in order to sit as the Committee of Adjustment under the Planning Act to consider applications listed on the June 24, 2024 council agenda. A mover and a seconder, Deputy Mayor Smybert and Councillor Crockett, all in favor? That motion carries. Thank you. So under Committee of Adjustment, item number 9 on your agenda, 9.1, minor variance application A6-24, John Michael Ferguson and Dawn Patricia Ferguson applicant, John Michael Ferguson as the agent, and the property is known as 17598 Gregory Drive. Again, Alana?
Thank you, Your Worship, through you. So the purpose and effect of this application is a request to allow the expansion of a legal non-conforming use, being a residential use, to facilitate the construction of an addition onto an existing single detached dwelling within the open space OS zone, which is otherwise not permitted. The subject property is a 0.58 acre lot situated on the north side of Gregory Drive and on the west side of Welburn Road in the hamlet of Welburn. So the applicants are proposing to construct an addition onto the existing dwelling, which would consist of a garage addition onto the front of the house, front of the garage, a covered deck area, and also an attached shed. And the addition would have a front yard setback of 8 meters and a setback of a side yard setback of 2.4 meters from the westerly property line, whereas the open space zone requires a front yard depth of 15 meters and also a side yard depth of 15 meters. So a typical residential zone in a hamlet, being the HR hamlet zone, requires a front yard setback of 7.5 meters and a side yard setback of 3 meters. And the applicant has advised the property has been used for residential purposes since 1983 when the dwelling was constructed. So Thames Center's official plan requires that certain criteria be met when considering expansions of legal non-conforming uses. Staff are satisfied that these criteria can be met. And also the Thames Center official plan states that requests to expand or enlarge a legal nonconforming use also needs to meet the four tests of a minor variance under the Planning Act, and staff are satisfied that these four tests have been met. In regards to agency comments, comments were received from the county engineer, drainage superintendent, Upper Thames River Conservation Authority, and chief building official, and these comments are included within the report, and no public comments have been received to date. Staff recommend that application A6-2024 be approved, subject to the reasons outlined in the report. Thank you.
Thank you, Elena. Is there any additional information from either the applicant or the agent? No, none? Okay, and any public questions from anyone inside the chambers? We have no one online? No? All right. I don't see anyone, so questions from the members of the committee? Deputy Mayor Smyber.
Great, thank you. Through you, I just wondered why why is it zoned that way? Is that just something that has been there for years and just hasn't been picked up in any updated documents?
Through your worship to Deputy Mayor Spybert, that's correct. I guess it's difficult to speak to the past and maybe the disconnect. Although, you know, this property has been identified as a property that can be reviewed and considered during a housekeeping amendment or a zoning bylaw review. Thank you.
Anyone else with questions? Okay. If there is no further discussion, then the public hearing is now closed. So do I have a mover for the recommended motion as appended to your agenda to approve minor variance A6-24 for 17598 Gregory Drive? Councillor Heeman and Deputy Mayor Smyber. All in favor? That motion carries then. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is 9.2, minor variance application A7-24. David Williams as the applicant, and the property is 21882 Missouri Road. Again, Alana, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship, through you. So the purpose and effect of this application is to seek relief from the Thames Center zoning bylaw as it relates to minimum lot area requirements of the residential first density R1 zone. So the subject property is a 486 square meter lot situated on the east side of Missouri Road and north of Elliott Trail in the village of Thorndale. The lands are vacant, although a building permit application has been submitted for a single detached dwelling to be serviced by municipal piped water and sanitary sewers. The lands are subject to minor variance application A11-22, which was granted in December 2022. The minor variance sought relief from the minimum lot area requirements of the R1 zone to create a lot with a minimum area of 585 square meters, as well as a reduced rear yard and front yard depth of 6 meters. The minor variance was required as a condition of consent for application B15-22, which created the subject property. The applicant applied for a building permit to construct a single detached dwelling on the subject lands, and it was determined that the lot did not satisfy the previous minor variance decision. Planning staff have conducted our analysis where the variance was evaluated against the 4 tests of a minor variance and are satisfied that the proposed variance meets all 4 tests. And unacceptable impacts on neighboring lands are not anticipated, given that the requested minimum lot size would remain sufficient to construct a single detached dwelling on full municipal services. In regards to agency comments were received from the county engineer, the drainage superintendent, the Upper Thames River Conservation Authority, and the chief building official. These comments are included in the report. One public comment has been received since the writing of this report from Matt Hildebrand, who objects to the minor variance. Staff recommend application A7-24 be approved for the reasons outlined in the report. Thank you.
Thank you, Alana. So, the applicant or the, do you have anything you would like to add further? No, okay, thank you. Anyone else in the chambers or online? No, none. All right. I'll turn it over then to the members of the committee for any questions or comments that they might have. None? I don't see, oh, Councillor Heeman, sorry.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm just wondering, is there a fence in place? Okay, and it looks like there's some trees on the property as well. Is that to be the case? Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, I think that's pretty reasonable in terms of with respect to the complaint that we received, that I think there is mitigation in place.
Thank you, Councillor Heeman. Anyone else from the members of the committee? Nothing? All right, then before you is the decision that the application for minor variance A7-2024 filed by David Wilms to permit a reduced minimum lot area of 486 square meters for lands legally described as part of Lot 16, Concession 3, Geographic Township of West Missouri, designated as Part 1 on Reference Plan 33R-21660, Municipality of Thames Center, and known municipally as 21882 Missouri Road be approved. A mover, Councillor Heeman, someone to second, Councillor Crockett. All in favor? Thank you. That motion carries. So moving on to adjourn the Committee of Adjustment, a mover and a seconder, please. Deputy Mayor Smybert and Councillor Lockie, all in favor? Good, motion carries, thanks. Item number 10 on your agenda. The minutes of the regular council meeting of June the 10th, a mover and a seconder. Councillor Heeman and Councillor Crockett. All in favor? Motion carries. Thank you. So moving on to some reports of departments, the Chief Administrative Officer to present on the 2025 budget. Whenever you're ready.
That's great. Thank you, Mayor. So you have before you the report prepared to highlight and outline a guideline and timetable for staff to begin working on the 2025 budget process. This report is very similar to the report brought forward this time last year respecting the 2024 budget process. And so you have it here before you today for considerations of some of the assessments of the various impacts and what council can expect leading into the fall, including a couple of different tax levy scenarios and the timetable respecting some of the outlined meetings, planning for final approval in December later this year. So I'm happy to answer any questions that council may have.
Thanks, Mr. Barrick. Any questions from council? Deputy Mayor Smybert.
Yeah, thanks for this. I think that it's helpful for us to have that that timeline so that we can know what to expect. I do thank staff for taking a look at the different tax increases for our consideration. I do note that that's probably a bit difficult, I think, on staff's end, right? Because I think from my perspective, from council's perspective, we're looking at a budget that's being brought in to address, the strategic plan and, the other, priorities. So I don't want to necessarily provide some direction on what that tax increase should be if it's not fiscally responsible for us to pass a budget like that. So I just wanted to make that comment, that because I've seen that kind of go sideways too sometimes, right? When council's expecting a certain tax rate increase and it comes in either higher or lower than that. So from my perspective, I don't think that's necessary. It is certainly helpful, but I think it's important for us to see the wholesome budget and the implications and making sure that we're putting, money into our reserves as well. We just want to make sure that we're financially doing well. So just wanted to make that comment, but thank you for the timeline.
Thanks, Deputy Mayor Smybert. Any other questions or comments? Councillor Lockie.
Through your worship, to the CAO, I do have one question and one comment. So the question is it feasible to have any parts of the budget presented to council in advance? Because it's a lot to, absorb at once. Like perhaps could it be possible to have the capital budget presented earlier? Is that feasible?
So through you, Mayor, yet we've identified similar to last year, a couple of council workshops for this purpose. It's we can consider it earlier in November. Right now, it's slated the beginning of December. I know that, maybe it starts to get condensed in terms of time frame. But certainly that's something that we can bring forward a little bit earlier into November. I think what we'd like to do is at least get over that public engagement piece as well, which usually is part of September and October. And so I think by November, we'll be in better condition to start to bring forward some of that information and recommendations to council for consideration. And given the, recent areas of interest, I think there's value to consider, breakdown of water, wastewater versus capital or operating or even reserves and debt. So there's a few different topic areas we can kind of tackle, again, depending on council's priorities and areas they want to drill in more on. We remain available to present all this information to you.
Thank you, CAO. That's the second thing. I do have a comment. So there is a mention in the document that's attached that council could consider an alternative process of working through a budget committee of council. And I think that's an excellent suggestion because, the budget is one of the most important things that we do as a council. And, it deserves a lot of our time and attention. So I would like to recommend that, we pursue that option.
Thanks, Councillor Lockie. Any comment? Or nothing? All's go. All right then. So, yeah, I was just going to. Okay, who goes first? Councillor Heeman, did I see your hand up as well? No. Okay. Deputy.
So is it on the topic of the committee? Is that what we're? I just wanted to indicate that I think we're a small enough council, and I think it's beneficial if all of us are involved in the budget process. We have a committee that's set up at the county, and from my experience, we don't actually get really too involved, and that's unfortunate because it can cause some implications kind of down the line. But that was my comment on that. But I also had a question about public engagement. Love the idea. I think it's great. So what does staff have in mind for that? Is that like a survey that will be going out?
Yes, through the mayor. Yeah, exactly. We did the survey last year. So our intention is to do a survey again this year. We can consider alternate options as well, but right now we're focused on a survey. Thanks.
Any other comment? It's Councillor Heeman.
Yes, I believe the budget committee was something that came up during strategic consultation. And I was just wondering again, how we would do that in a committee structure that I think it would be similar to a committee of the whole. And I just wonder how that would be significantly different than what is proposed.
Do you have an answer to that, Mr. Barrick?
Yes, thank you, Mayor, through to the councillor. My sense is, and perhaps Councillor Lockie can speak to it further if it's something that she's interested in. But my sense is that it becomes more of a working meeting. So the committees are usually more working groups, so you can take more time to get into some of the detail of specific agenda items related to budget alone. But again, that would be up to council respecting approving any kind of terms of reference that you may want to see as a draft.
Through your worship, so would I be correct in assuming that, say, some of these workshops would then be more akin to committee meetings, and there may be more back and forth, or? I just wonder, and so through your worship to Councillor Lockie, is just wondering if that would encompass what she had envisioned.
Councillor
yeah.
Lockie?
Yes, to Councillor Heeman. I think that it would just be like more of a, an opportunity to do things such activities such as, looking at the survey results, making sure that it's in line with the budget and just getting in a little bit deeper and, looking, maybe even looking at last year's numbers a little bit further, getting a little bit more details on the different items and, maybe a little bit of more, forward planning as well.
Councillor Heeman?
So it would be more of like a, less formal, more open discussion, I think.
So I think just having had similar thoughts in the past, I think if you look at London's use of their committee, it also leads to a multi-year budget, which I think might be interesting to have that understanding for council, because I think there are long-term implications to some of the decisions that we've made, like the capital levy. Like we already have impacts on this year, so or next year. So in some ways, we are looking at multi-year budgeting without having those discussions on a regular basis. So I would see some merit in having regular discussions throughout the year, so that we're always thinking about these things and always current versus seasonally.
Thanks, Councillor Heeman. Just so I'm clear, then, are you thinking along the line of a budget committee as well, as per?
I think that's Councillor Lockie's proposal,
Yes.
and I do see some merit in it.
Thank you. Anyone else? Oh, Councillor Crockett?
Thank you, Your Worship. I would have to agree upon the lines of Deputy Mayor Smybert on this, as I do think we're a small enough council. And in the 2 years that we've been reviewing the budget, we have had sufficient time left over in the scheduled days to continue to review the budget. So I think if we're looking at instances of more touch points throughout the year, maybe that comes up in quarterly reports to give us a better understanding of where we're at before we're making larger decisions. In addition to, I think, a more in-depth look at the budget, I think the proposal of the workshops ahead of the special budget meeting will allow us to have those conversations, but still allow us kind of a full day plus to focus on the final approving aspect. And I think those conversations with the more open dialogue could happen in the workshops, but still allow all of us to participate in this process.
Thank you, Councillor Crockett. Any other comments from council? All right, that being said then, we have a recommended motion before you attached to your agenda. That report number CAO 005-24 be received for information, and that the 2025 budget be developed to provide council with various tax levy scenarios for its consideration, and that the 2024 budget timeline be tentatively scheduled as outlined in this report in order to achieve approval prior to the beginning of the 2025 fiscal period. A mover and a seconder for that motion. Moved by Deputy Mayor Smybert and seconded by Councillor Crockett. All in favor? Thank you. That carries. Thanks, Mr. Barrick. Okay, the next item on the agenda, 11.2 PWES-004-24 Oversized Waste Collection Program 2024 Summary. Mr. Craven.
Thank you, Your Worship. This is just an information report that was going to go on the consent agenda. If you have any questions, it's just information with the tonnage and whatnot and how the program did this year compared to other years. I can help you out if you have any other questions.
Thanks, Mr. Craven. Any questions from council on the report? It was interesting reading. Thank you. Okay, a mover and did you have a question, Tom?
Oh, I just want to thank the director because I know this is a valued service and it's a lot of work to organize. So thank you.
Echo that. A mover and a seconder, Deputy Mayor Smybert, and did I see Councillor Heyman? All in favor? That's carried. Thank you very much. And the financial report, 11.3 on your agenda, the financial report unaudited January to December of 2023. Director Shinwine, whenever you're ready. I thought you were losing something over there. Go ahead.
Through your worship, thank you very much. The purpose of this report is to provide council with a preliminary unaudited financial report as of December 31st, 2023, and to allocate the 2023 surplus to reserves. Overall, year-to-date balances indicate that we have a preliminary surplus of approximately 1.5 million. This does not include capital, and because that is fully funded through grants, donations, development charges, reserves, and external transfers. It's important to note that at this point in time, the audit is still ongoing, so these are the amounts as of today. We are working with the auditors to hopefully have the financial statements presented to you in July or August of this year. As we move through the report, in terms of financial implications, Section 6.3 of Development Charges Bylaw establishes an exemption for municipal-wide DCs of industrial development. In 2023, there were 3 industrial DCs with exemptions, totaling approximately $45,000. Consistent with prior years, we're recommending that these exemptions be funded through the 2023 through the Tax Stabilization Reserve. As well as during the 2023 budget process, there were one-time projects that were given revenue through tax levy or rates to support them. Some of the projects were not completed or initiated through the year and require a transfer to the reserves. You'll see within the report a breakdown of the 2023 projects that were not completed and are ongoing, as well as projects from prior years. So the total reserves projects not completed balance as of December 31st, 2023 is approximately $141,000. Similar to prior years, we've provided a breakdown of our Municipal Modernization Fund, which was a previous grant that we received and some projects that have been ongoing from that, and we continue to carry a balance forward of approximately $158,000. The 2 major factors for our $1.5 million surplus this year were the unanticipated higher than expected interest rates, which is a good news story, as well as the new Circular Materials of Ontario Blue Box Recycling Program implemented in 2023, a greater revenue source generated there as well. When we can compare this surplus to prior years, it's a little bit more than the average, but still in line. In terms of allocating the surplus in connection with our reserve policy, we recommend that an additional contribution be made to the council election reserves to bring the target balance to $50,000. This is in preparation for the upcoming election in 2026. Also, if you recall back to earlier in the 2024 budget development process, and also last year, there was the approval for a fire truck that came in over budget of approximately $537,000. And we're recommending that a portion be used from this 2023 surplus towards that, and the remainder balance that needs to be funded come from the 2025 capital fleet budget. The remaining surplus for 2023, approximately $950,000, we recommend be transferred to the Tax Stabilization Reserve. Thank you for your time, and I'll answer any questions.
Thank you, Emily. Any questions from council? Councillor Lockie.
Through your worship to Director Scheinben, just a couple of questions, items I was wondering if you could get a little bit more details on. So with respect to the interest impact, do you know how much of that difference was because of the interest?
Through your worship, in the 2023 budget, we included an interest earned of about $100,000, and our actual interest earned in 2023 was almost 1.1 million. So an additional 970,000 we achieved in terms of interest rates.
Okay, thank you. And then the other question I had was just regarding the transportation overhead. Do you know what was driving that variance? That was on transportation services. So that would be on the page 4 of the attachment, so in the general admin and overhead. So that was a $500,000 variance for that one. Do we know what drove that?
Through your worship, I would have to look into that further and get back to you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
That's it.
Thank you, Councillor Lockie. Anyone else with a question? Okay, or do you have one,
Yeah,
Councillor Heeman?
Almost $1 million in interest is, like, should we be accounting for that differently? Like, if if you mentioned in previous years, we also got quite a bit of interest, is there merit in, factoring that differently? So that because those kind of skew the numbers, so that we're not really looking at operational surpluses.
So through your worship, during the 2024 budget development process, we did update our interest estimates to reflect more in line with actuals so that we could allocate it through the budget, and we would do so again in the 2025 budget as well. 2023, if you recall, since COVID, there was quite the spikes in the interest rates in the market, so it's difficult to predict and not always accounted for in the budget, but that is our practice going forward so that you can allocate it accordingly and there won't be such these spikes that we see.
Thank you.
Thank you. Did you have a comment? All right, any other questions before we move on? No? All right, then before you, a mover and a seconder that report number F004-24 be received for information and that council approve $44,701.87 in 2023 industrial development charge exemptions be funded from the tax stabilization reserve, and that council approve $30,500 raised from property taxes and storm, water, and sewer rates in 2023 for one-time projects that were not initiated and/or completed in 2023 be transferred to reserve projects not completed to fund the future completion of these works, and that council approve the 2023 surplus be transferred to reserves at December 31st, 2023, as identified in this report. A mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Deputy Mayor Smybert and seconded by Councillor Lockie. All in favor? Thank you, Emily. That carries. So moving on to item number 12 on the agenda, reports of committees. Items listed under reports of committees are approved by council in one motion. Council members may request that one or more items be separated for further action. And further, that reports of committees, agenda items 12.1 and 12.2 be approved as presented. A mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor Heeman and seconded by Councillor Crockett. All in favor? Thank you. Motion carries. No unfinished business, no notices of motion or new business. So we'll move on to bylaws. A mover and a seconder that bylaws 48-2024 through 52-2024 be adopted as presented. Mover and seconder. Deputy Mayor Smybert and Councillor Crockett, all in favor? Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, the last item is the upcoming meeting schedule. Monday, July 15th at 2024 here at 5 o'clock in the council chambers. And again, Monday, August the 12th, 2024 at 5 p.m. again in the chambers. A motion for adjournment, please. Councillor Heeman and Councillor Crockett. All in favor? Go Oilers, go. I see your shirt. All right. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Have a great evening.